Okay, today I mentioned previously in a video we were troubleshooting the Bluetooth and we were troubleshooting the sound settings. And I mentioned that one of the things I really like about Linux Mint is this thing here called the system settings. It's kind of like the old-fashioned control panel that you once had back in the days of Windows 98 and Windows XP. Had this nice control panel. It was simple, and if you were troubleshooting anything on your computer, it was like a one-stop shop place where you could go to and look at the settings and figure out what the problem was or try to fix problems. Or if you just wanted to change some of the ways your computer functioned, you could go to this place right here and change that. So I thought today we would take a look at some of these things in system settings. And I encourage you, if you are running Linux Mint, whether if you got Linux Mint Cinnamon or Linux Mint Debian Edition, whatever, I think this system settings comes on all the different versions of Linux Mint. I haven't looked at the XFCE version, I don't think. So I don't know if they have it on there, that one, but they probably do. So the first section that you have here for settings is the appearance, so you can change backgrounds. Then you got effects, which I've got all mine turned off, but you can switch all of these effects. I don't know why, but I just usually go in and turn off all the effects. I don't need effects really. Then you got font selection. Now, one of the things that under font selection that I always go in here and adjust is this text scaling factor, because my eyesight is not as good as what it used to be. So I always go in here and increase the text scaling factor to about 1.4 so that I can see the fonts clearly on my desktop. And if you want to, you can also change these font sizes too, but I usually just leave all of them as they are and then just change the text scaling factor so that I can see the fonts on my desktop better. The next one is the themes. You can change the themes to a light theme, dark theme, or a mixed. I think mixed is probably the best for me because you get a dark like taskbar, but then your windows are actually light. And I have, again, going back to vision again. For me, the contrast of a light background seems to work better for me. Some people complain that they can't see unless they have a dark background. But I changed that to dark, and I can barely see anything on there now when I change that to dark. So I leave it on a mixed. So it's easier for me to see things on a light background like this. Then the accessibility, which this is another one of the first things I always change, is going to accessibility, and I change mine to large text. Again, this is because of my vision. You can also, there are some other things that might help out some people, like high contrast. If you switch that, you see it changes that, and actually that does help me a little bit too, that high contrast. So I'm going to leave that on. You can also get a desktop zoom. I don't really use that, so I don't know how that works. So I'm going to turn that back off. And then you got account details. Under account details, I usually would change my icon to a cup of coffee. You got actions. This is just where you can set up different little scripts. Applets, that's scripts again. Date and time. I always change mine to use the network time. To turn, it comes by default with the 24-hour clock, but I turn that off, and I want to see the date, so I always click on date. So this is down here in the bottom. On the taskbar, you can see what the date and time is right away. Desklets, that's another scripting type deal. Your desktop, you can choose what you want to see on your desktop. Computer, home, trash, mounted drives. I usually the only thing I want to see on my desktop is if I mount a drive, so I'll leave that on. Extensions, I don't really use that too much. General. So here's some different options you can change depending on how you want to run your desktop. Gestures, I would imagine this is more like for a mobile device. or maybe a laptop for gestures. Hot corners, I usually turn all that off because to me it's disorienting. When I pull something or go to a certain corner of the screen and it makes things happen, it kind of disorients me a little bit. So I turn all that off. Input method, languages, night light. Now this is interesting. You can turn on the night light, and then on a certain schedule, or you can specify start and end times, your screen will change a different light color to where, especially in the evening. So they say scientifically that if you're looking at blue light on a screen before you go to bed, it makes it harder for you to go to sleep. So if you'll change this to where it becomes more of a reddish color, that it's easier for you to go to sleep after looking at a screen. So I'll leave that on. That's a pretty cool feature. It's supposed to help with your vision so your eyes don't get tired out. Notifications. So this is like any change on your computer, like updates and that type of thing. Online accounts, I never use that. So if you want to, the next one is panel. If you want to change the settings on your panel, the only thing I change on here is to push the panel height all the way to its largest, to 60, so that I can see the icons on my taskbar better. Preferred applications. This is where you can change what happens if you click on something that's music. I'm going to change it to VLC, video VLC. I use VLC all the time. So this is where you can change. This is kind of like under Windows, this would be like a file type extension association. Privacy. You can have it remember recently accessed files or turn that off. I don't have any reason to remember files, so I just turn that off. Screensaver. My screensaver is set for 15 minutes, and if my computer is sitting here and the screensaver comes on at 15 minutes, it goes ahead and it will lock the computer after the screensaver starts, which is a security feature which in my opinion should come default on every operating system, and which is just weird how Windows makes you like hook up your phone to your computer in order to enable this type of functionality, which is to me what they call a dark pattern of Windows, because this should just come standard that when your screensaver starts your computer locks. Makes sense. Startup applications, like so when you log in you want certain things to start up, you can put it in here. So what do I got? System reports, the Bluetooth starts up, yeah. So print, I don't really print, so I don't really need printing starting up. Update manager starts. Okay, so Windows, window tiling, workspaces, Bluetooth, color, disk, display. Display might be something you want to look at. Like if you have two screens like I do, you can change what screen is your primary screen, like your monitors. So I got two monitors. So this one right here is my primary. But you can switch that. You can switch these around and switch your primary monitors into those settings. Here's another one that I always go into is the power management. So turn off the screen when active for 30 minutes. So remember the screensaver will start in 15 minutes, and then if another 15 minutes goes by and I still hadn't come back to my desk, then after 30 minutes it'll just turn the monitor off, which is pretty good. I never want my computer to be suspended, so I don't allow it to be suspended, which I think that's a default setting. Printers, there's your sound settings, there's system info, which shows you I'm running Linux Mint Debian Edition number 7 GG. Shows you my Linux kernel, processor, how much memory I've got, and how big the hard drive is, and the graphics card, which is just an Intel graphics card. Also down here at the bottom you got your firewall, your login window settings, software sources, users, and groups. So like I said, everything in one place. This little system settings is fantastic for keeping up with everything, all the settings on your computer. And this is one of my first places I go to whenever I'm troubleshooting a problem on the computer. Hope this information helps you out today. Subscribe to the channel, click like, share the video, click on notifications. Thank you very much.